Have you ever wondered why you feel so much, even when trying to do good? Why does your body get sick, even when your intention is always to help? Maybe the answer lies not just in tests, medications, or diagnoses. Perhaps it's within you, within your soul. This message is for you who feels too much. Sensitive, empathetic, and intense people carry pains that no one sees. And when these pains are not welcomed, the body starts to scream. Autoimmune diseases are often this silent scream. It's as if the body is saying, "You need to look inside." What if this is a calling and not a punishment? Suffering can be the beginning of a transformation. Not because you are fragile, but because you carry something greater within you. There is a strength that is born from pain, a mission hidden in the toughest moments. If you feel this, if you recognize yourself in this energy, maybe you are among the chosen ones. Those who do not ignore the pain of others, even when they are broken inside. On this channel, we speak to those who feel, to those who live this reality in silence. If this message touched your heart, follow the channel now. Here you will find acceptance, understanding, and ways to transform your pain into strength. Not through ready-made formulas, but through a truth that comes from within. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are awakening. And this can be the most beautiful part of your journey. Some people have a sensitivity that seems too big to fit in their chest. They cannot ignore the suffering of others, even while carrying their own pains. They are the ones who always listen, help, and nurture. Even when they are tired, they continue to offer support. And amid all this care, they ask themselves, "Why do I feel so much, even when trying to do everything right?" This question does not have an answer in tests or diagnoses. Often what they experience does not show up in medical reports or lab results. It is not a lack of strength, nor is it an exaggeration. It is something that comes from within, from the heart. Perhaps the origin of so much pain lies in the soul, in a deep place that calls for attention and healing. Diseases that affect the immune system do not always have a visible cause. They arise from silenced secrets, unexpressed wounds, and emotions that have accumulated over time. When feelings are ignored or suppressed, the body may begin to react. Pain then becomes an internal scream, a warning that something needs to be looked at with more care and truth. Highly sensitive people live absorbing the environment around them. They notice gestures, tones of voice, glances. They can feel the sadness in the air even when no one says anything. And because they do not know how to protect themselves from these burdens, they end up carrying the weight of the world. Gradually, the body feels this excess and tries to signal in some way. Perhaps you have woken up without energy, even after sleeping. Or you felt pains that no one could explain. You have searched for answers and heard that it's stress, it's emotional, as if that diminished what you are experiencing. But inside you, something tells you that there is a greater reason for all of this, that it is not imagination, that there is something real happening. This pain does not mean weakness. It may be a sign that you are going through a deep process, a phase of transformation that many do not understand, but that you feel. Perhaps, instead of punishment, it is a calling, a preparation for something greater, something that you are still discovering, but that is already pulsing within you. Not everyone will understand what you feel, and that's okay. Not everyone was born with this sensitivity, but you were, and that makes you special. There is a reason for this open heart, for this attentive soul. You have something to offer the world, even when you feel broken. And your pain, no matter how difficult it seems, could be shaping that purpose. Before we move on, I want to ask you something simple. If this content touched you in any way, follow this channel now. Here, we do not speak to everyone. We speak to those who feel, to those who need to hear something that goes beyond reason. This is a space for awakened souls seeking meaning in pain. And you are welcome here. Let's discover together what lies behind this intense sensitivity. Because perhaps what is pain today may be healing tomorrow. Healing that starts in the soul and then touches the body. Some pains do not begin in the body. They arise in unspoken thoughts, in swallowed emotions, in restless nights trying to be strong all the time. Gradually this burden accumulates, and the only way the body finds to express itself is by getting sick. Not because you are weak, but because you are trying to carry more than you should alone. Autoimmune diseases are often silent on the outside, but intense on the inside. They do not have a defined appearance. They do not appear in cuts or visible fractures. But even so, they consume energy, cause pain, and disrupt balance. It's as if the body is in conflict with itself, trying to deal with emotions that never had space to be felt safely. Many people living with this type of condition have one thing in common: a deep empathy. They are the ones who feel beyond the normal, who connect with what is not said, who perceive when someone is unwell without needing to hear a word. This sensitivity is a gift, but it can also be a burden when there are no clear boundaries between what is yours and what belongs to others. Unbeknownst to them, these people end up absorbing the suffering of others. They try to embrace everyone around them, but do not reserve the same care for themselves. Over time, this lack of self-care exacts a high price. And the body, which is wise, begins to give signals. It asks for help in the only way it knows how: through symptoms. Perhaps you have already experienced this. You have felt an exhaustion with no apparent cause, a vague pain that no one understands. You have been to doctors who said everything is fine, but inside you know that it is not. And it is in this gap between what you feel and what you are told that silent suffering arises, the kind that only you know. On this journey, it is common to hear that everything is in your head, that you are exaggerating, or that you need to think positively. These words, no matter how well-intentioned, invalidate your pain. They make you question what you feel, as if you need proof to justify your suffering. But you do not need to prove anything. What you feel is real. Many live believing they must endure everything without complaint. They were taught not to show weakness, to always smile, even when everything is crumbling inside. However, this emotional armor does not last forever. At some point, the body decides to make noise. It expresses what the soul has tried to whisper for so long, but was never heard. It is at this point that many awaken. They begin to realize that pain is not the end, but a warning, a call to look at themselves with more kindness, with more attention. Illness is not a punishment. It is an invitation to stop, breathe, and reconnect with who you really are. And this process, as challenging as it may be, can transform the way you see yourself and how you live. You are not alone in this experience. There are many others who, like you, feel the world in an intense and true way. And the more you understand your sensitivity, the more you learn to take care of yourself. The first step is to recognize your pain has an origin, your body has a voice, and it is okay to listen to what it is trying to say. What if what you are experiencing is not a punishment, but a phase of preparation? Often suffering appears not to destroy us, but to awaken us. When the body begins to get sick, perhaps it is the moment when the soul has long been asking for changes. What if, instead of weakness, this is the beginning of something greater within you? It is common to think that pain is synonymous with punishment. We have been taught this way. When something hurts, we want to solve it, erase it, forget it. But what if pain has a message? What if it is saying, you need to change the way you are living? It's time to put yourself first. Most people ignore this call until the body speaks louder. Sensitive people often have this silent mission to help, care for, and serve, but they have almost never been taught to care for themselves. They learn to listen to others, but do not hear their own limits. And, over time, this imbalance exacts a toll. The body begins to show that something needs to be adjusted, and this demonstration may come in the form of illness. You may be wondering why you, of all people, feel so much. Why, even wanting good, you carry so much pain. But perhaps that is exactly why. Those who come with a mission to guide others must first know the pain they intend to help heal. Not to suffer eternally, but to develop a true empathy that comes from lived experience. The people who help the most are often the ones who have suffered the most in silence. They have developed a strength that is not visible on the outside but can be felt in their gaze, in their words, in their presence. This strength is not learned from books. It is born from those who faced internal battles and chose to continue even without applause. This is spirituality in practice, not theory. When we understand that our pain has a purpose, something changes. We stop seeing ourselves as victims of life and begin to see that something greater is happening. The soul does not awaken in the midst of comfort. Growth comes from moments of crisis, and it is these moments that show us what really matters, what needs to be healed, and what can be left behind. Your pain may be shaping something valuable within you. Sensitivity, compassion, wisdom. People who have gone through deep experiences can see beyond the superficial. They do not judge easily. They listen with their hearts. And when they speak, their words carry weight, because they come from someone who knows what they are saying, from someone who has been at the bottom and chose to rise. This does not mean that you need to suffer to evolve, but it does mean that when pain comes, you can choose what to do with it. You can shut down and feel defeated, or you can face it as a chance for rebirth. This is the turning point, the moment you stop running from pain and start listening to it attentively. You are not your pain, but it is part of your story. And everything you are feeling now could be the beginning of a new version of yourself. Stronger, more aware, more connected to your purpose. And perhaps one day you will look back and understand that this process, no matter how difficult it has been, was also the most necessary. Have you ever noticed that you feel the environment like no one else? That simply walking into a place is enough for you to know if there is sadness there, even if no one says anything. Sensitive people carry this invisible gift. They read silences, interpret glances, understand what others feel, even when they try to hide it. This type of sensitivity is rare, and often it is poorly understood even by those who possess it. Many believe that being sensitive is a sign of weakness, but in reality, it is a powerful ability for deep connection. This acute perception allows you to see beyond the obvious, to touch where no one else sees. However, without preparation, this ability becomes overwhelming. Absorbing the pain of the world without knowing how to deal with it causes the body to collapse. What was a gift turns into a burden. That's why so many highly empathetic people develop physical, emotional, or mental symptoms. They do not know where they end and where the other begins. They care for others so much that they forget about themselves. This giving, when not balanced, ends up generating wear, exhaustion, and even illness. The body then begins to manifest what the soul can no longer hide. Perhaps you are that person everyone turns to when they are feeling down. You listen, embrace, and guide, even when you are tired. This happens because your presence conveys security. But who cares for you? Who listens to your pains? In many cases, no one. And that is where the imbalance is born. You give without nourishing yourself. And little by little, your body tries to alert you. This sensitivity, however, did not come by chance. It is part of your mission. People like you came to be bridges. They connect worlds, translate feelings, and bring comfort where there is pain. But to continue doing this, they need to learn to protect themselves. Create healthy boundaries. Understand that helping others does not mean carrying their weight inside. When you learn to respect your own limits, a new cycle of healing begins. It is not selfish to take care of yourself. It is wisdom. Because only those who are whole can offer something true. Only those who care for their own wound can embrace another's pain with presence and lightness. And this is the challenge for sensitive people, to balance empathy with self-care. The journey of those who feel too much is different. Sometimes it is solitary because few people understand this depth. But it is also rich because it carries immense potential for transformation. When you recognize your sensitivity as a tool, not a weakness, something is released within you. You begin to understand that your pain can be a compass. Each scar can become a bridge. Each difficulty, a lesson. Your story can be the answer someone is seeking, not because you are perfect, but because you chose not to hide. You chose to transform pain into something useful, and that, in itself, already makes you a beacon amidst the darkness for many people. You do not need to know all the answers, nor have everything figured out. What matters is being willing to grow, even amid pain. Your journey is unique, and your sensitivity is the key that opens doors to new understanding. Do not fight against it. Learn to live lightly with this force that resides in you. It can be your greatest medicine. Some learnings do not come through books, courses, or advice. They are born in sleepless nights, in moments when the chest tightens and silence seems deafening. Pain has the power to take us inward, and it is in this deep dive that many discover something they had never noticed before. A silent calling, a mission that begins to reveal itself amidst the chaos. Have you ever felt that your pain was shaping you? As if, even without understanding why, something within you was being built little by little. Many of those who today are sources of healing for others first went through a path of shadows. They were not born ready. They were refined by difficulties, forced to look within themselves, and thus awakened a new version of themselves. Pain, when faced with courage, ceases to be a burden and becomes strength. It generates real empathy, not the kind of empathy learned through theory, but that which springs from someone who has been at rock bottom. Those who have truly suffered understand the pain of others without needing many explanations. A glance, a word, a comforting presence is enough. That is why many healers, therapists, and emotional counselors emerge after difficult experiences. The sensitivity that once seemed like a weight becomes a bridge between hearts. What was once a wound turns into a tool. What once caused shame transforms into testimony. Your story, no matter how painful it was, can be exactly what helps someone else not to give up. And the most beautiful thing is that you don't need status, a diploma, or fame for this. Those who have true presence do not need to prove anything. People feel it. They notice when someone speaks from the heart. That is what generates connection, not appearance. And that is why the chosen ones are different. They do not need to convince. They simply live what they feel. And that touches those who listen. If you feel that there is something inside you wanting to emerge, perhaps it is your vocation asking for space. A mission does not appear with lights or clear signs. It reveals itself gradually, within the pain itself. It is when you choose not to hide what you have lived anymore, and begin to use it as a way to serve. This choice transforms scars into healing, trauma into lessons. You may still be in the process, and that's okay. Transformation happens in stages. The most important thing is not to ignore what is surfacing. If your sensitivity has increased, if your desire to help has grown, if you feel that there is a greater purpose in everything you have lived, listen to that. Do not dismiss this calling. It may be pointing exactly to your new path. The mission of the sensitive is not to carry the world, but to inspire others to free themselves. And that begins with a simple gesture, sharing your truth. You don't need to be perfect or have all the answers. Just be real. By telling your story, you heal yourself. And by healing, you awaken those around you. This is the cycle of conscious pain. It illuminates. If you have made it this far, it is because there is something inside you ready to bloom. Do not let fear or doubt extinguish that light. What you have lived has value. What you feel matters. Your pain is not just yours. It can be a portal to the healing of many. And that in itself is already the beginning of a legacy. In many moments of the journey, those who feel deeply end up isolating themselves. Not because they want to, but because it seems that no one around understands what is happening inside. It is difficult to explain a pain that has no shape, an exhaustion that does not heal with rest. And when words are not enough, silence becomes a shelter. A lonely shelter, but familiar. Invisible pain is one of the cruelest, because it cannot be seen on the body, but it is felt in the soul. Have you ever tried to express what you were feeling and heard responses like, "But you don't even look sick"? This kind of statement not only hurts, but makes you doubt your own experience. Invalidating feelings hurts more than physical symptoms because it makes you feel alone, even with your own truth. That is why many learn to keep their battles to themselves. They start to smile so they don't disturb, to hide their fatigue, to move forward as if nothing were happening. But inside, there is a weight that accumulates. This choice to protect oneself ends up creating a distance between you and the world. A distance that hurts, but seems to be the only way to continue. Those who walk with a spiritual purpose often feel out of place. You see what others ignore, feel what no one perceives, and carry a connection to the invisible that does not always have an explanation. This can generate loneliness, but it also shows that you are on a different path, a path that few have the courage to tread. This loneliness is not punishment, it is part of the process. In the silence, you begin to listen to your own soul more clearly. You discover strengths you didn't know you had. You learn to trust yourself, even when the world does not offer applause or recognition. And this type of strength, silent and firm, is what shapes true guides. You do not need approval to continue. What lives in you is greater than any judgment. And even when no one understands you, your presence still has value. You offer empathy, listening, and care, even when you are in pieces. And this is not weakness. This is spiritual strength. It is the courage to move forward, even without guarantees. There are others like you, spread around the world, silent, awakened. They also felt they did not belong, but found meaning in their own pain. Gradually, these souls recognize each other, and when that happens, loneliness transforms into connection. Pain turns into understanding, and the path that once seemed dark begins to be illuminated by the simple fact of knowing, I am not alone. Getting here has not been easy. You carry pains that do not always have names, feelings that seem too big to fit in your chest, tiredness that doesn't go away with a good night's sleep. But even so, you continue. Even without strength, you try. Even without answers, you feel that you need to move on. And this persistence is not stubbornness. It is an awakened soul. What you are experiencing is not an exaggeration. It is not drama. It is real. It is the expression of a rare sensitivity, of a heart that came to transform. Often those who feel too much end up being the first to lend a hand, even when they need help. And this is not weakness. It is a mission to embrace, guide, and heal, even with their own scars. You do not need to hide what you have lived. Your pains are part of your story, but they do not define who you are. They have shaped you, yes, but it is your silent strength that reveals the true purpose behind all of this. The journey that seemed lonely begins to make sense when you understand that you are awakening to something greater. There is a calling within you, a desire to help, to serve, to illuminate paths. And this desire is the signal. Even without knowing how, you feel that you have something to offer. This is already the beginning. You do not need to be ready. You just need to be willing to continue, even if slowly, willing to trust, even without guarantees. Remember, you are not here by chance. Your sensitivity is a tool. Your empathy is a compass. Your story has value, and the world needs exactly your truth, not a corrected version of you. So continue, with lightness, with truth, with presence. If this content spoke to your soul, follow this channel. Here you will find acceptance, direction, and reminders that you are not alone. And if you can, share this content with someone else who also feels too much. This is also a mission.